Now we come to the last 4 verses of Isaiah's timeline for the last days. Chapter 14, verses 29 through 32. After all that's been said about the death of the Assyrian and the rising up of Zion, some of this can seem contradictory. And yet, when understood, it's a perfect conclusion to the timeline. Verse 29 says, "Rejoice not thou, whole Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent." Historically, this is saying that the people in Palestina along the Mediterranean coast should not rejoice because the Assyrian is dead. Yes, he's gone, but a more powerful man is coming. And this man is likened to a cockatrice, or a venomous snake, and his fruit shall be, or from him shall come, someone even greater, a fiery flying serpent. There are a lot of metaphors here. The rod that smote Palestina is the Assyrian king who has just died. His name was Tiglath-Pileser. But now comes a greater threat, an even deadlier serpent. Ironically, this was the righteous King Hezekiah, who would soon send his armies through Palestina to end their threat against Judah. But from Hezekiah's roots will come someone else, a fiery flying serpent. And this is really whom Isaiah is talking about now, and it applies only to the last days. A flying serpent is a symbol of the Messiah, the Anointed One. Moses held up a brazen serpent as a symbol of Christ, and legend has it that this was a snake with wings. Some ancient Americans also had traditions of a winged serpent, Quetzalcoatl, a powerful god who visited their people. The Hebrew word for serpent can also be translated seraph, and a seraph is a winged, fiery, flying angel, and they're considered to be the most powerful of all the angels. In other words, the fiery, flying serpent Isaiah speaks of will be a man with seraph-like powers, or as we might say in the last days, a holy servant of Christ with the powers of an angel. Isaiah then says, "And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety. And I will kill thy root with famine, and he shall slay thy remnant." The firstborn of the poor means the poorest of the poor, the most needy. And who are they? They're the needy who shall lie down in safety. They're the humble who have just finished their long travels to New Jerusalem, many coming from foreign lands. This man, a fiery flying serpent in the strength of Messiah, will open the gates of Zion to these poor and needy, and he'll even introduce them into the presence of their Savior, Jesus Christ. And then, after their long march, they shall indeed lie down in safety. But again, to rebellious Palestina, Isaiah says, "And I will kill thy root with famine, and he," meaning the servant, "shall slay thy remnant." This latter-day servant is a man who has power to smite the earth with the rod of his mouth and slay the wicked with the breath of his lips. Isaiah says, "Howl, O gate, cry, O city. Thou whole Palestina art dissolved, for there shall come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed times." Palestina will be dissolved or melted away, just like the Assyrian army was under Hezekiah, when 185,000 of them were silently slain in a single night. Isaiah says there shall come from the north a smoke. We saw an allusion to this earlier when Isaiah said, "And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night, whereupon all the glory shall be a defense." This smoke by day and flaming fire by night will be the power of God hovering over the people of Zion. And when they come down upon any people, that people should howl and cry, for they're about to be dissolved by those holding terrestrial powers. In the last days, this will refer to enclaves of the wicked still living near New Jerusalem. They may have escaped the Assyrian, but they won't escape the power of Christ's servant and those with him in Zion. The phrase, "and none shall be alone in his appointed times," simply means that there will be no stragglers when Zion's army marches forth. And finally, in the very last verse of the timeline, Isaiah says, "What shall then answer the messengers of the nations?" In other words, when ambassadors of the survivors remaining around the world come to inquire after Zion, when they say, "Who are you?" the leaders of New Jerusalem will answer, "The Lord hath founded Zion, and the poor, or the humble, of his people shall trust in it." The day of the Lord of hosts began with terrible destructions, and now it concludes with the words, "The Lord hath founded Zion." What a day it has been. What a great and marvelous work. The Lord has swept the earth with the besom of destruction, and he hath founded Zion. Next time, we'll follow Isaiah as he circles back to give clarity to the opening salvos of the Assyrians' invasion of the latter-day Promised Land. I'm Curtis Taylor with the Words of Isaiah.